Recording. All right, I'm gonna go, and then I gotta go live.
You're taking more time than I took. You
Wait,
set this
okay,
up.
one second. There's process you gotta go through.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I got you.
So
And
we're
we're hey,
almost there.
and
We're
we're
almost
not talking
there.
about those processes that took recesses like back in the day. Your process took a recess.
Right.
And we are live on Facebook. 1 second, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all what to do in a second. We are live on Facebook. Let me
Just
go.
like a woman, always trying to tell us what to do.
Oh Lord. Everybody tune in.
He's
I'm the
recording.
only woman that's gonna be on this segment, and y'all just pray for me. Y'all just pray for me. You let everybody
Always.
know
Hey,
we are on. Let's see. Let me find my I gotta find. Okay, here we go. Let me.
Alita, the prayers always going up for all the form of the original video show people.
Yes.
Before all those people came in and started making all that money, we set the stage.
Right,
Yes.
right. How come it's not showing on my page? Hold on.
I'm looking at it right now.
I'm looking at you.
How come I can't see it on mine? Now what is going on with Alita? Let me hit reset. Okay, I see us now. I see us now, y'all. I see us now.
Okay.
I got it. Now what I have to do is I have to go edit my audience. I have to make it public. And then you guys can, since you're on my page, you guys can share it. Hit the share button and it'll go to your page now.
Okay.
This is the new stuff, y'all. This is the new stuff. You guys,
All this old is new,
everybody.
all this
Oh,
new
let
is
me get on
old.
my phone. Everybody tune in. You guys gonna hear some great history.
Go.
Let me go to my page. Let me find the video. And there we are. Read to my page. Okay, here we go. All right. I have, okay, let me kind of break it down to everybody out there in Facebook land where y'all jump on and everything. Now, I wanted to do this show because I felt like ever since all the changes and stuff going on, I felt like y'all needed to hear about us video shows, okay? Especially y'all new folks. Yeah, y'all all over the internet and stuff. We're gonna give you some history on how things were done back in the days and stuff, right? So I have James Morris. James Morris, let them know where you're from. Let them know the video show that you had.
We had Clubbing TV in Chicago, hosted by yourself, James, aka DJ Fink. And we started in 92.
You started in 92?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Chris, let people now you guys, Chris, he's in New York, so he's not gonna show his face. So y'all just gonna see.
Chris, you better show your face, man. Stop pulling, man.
I can't. I'm sleepy.
So Chris, let people know your name, where you at, and the name of your show and the year you started.
All right, this is Chris from Chris Music Concepts. I started in 1991 on Brick Arts Media, which was back then it was called BCAT.
Right.
But now it's called Brooklyn Free Speech, and it's part of Brick. So, and matter of fact, I just won an award over at Brick for best social media documentary.
What? Congratulations.
Good stuff, brother.
You in Brooklyn?
Yeah, from
my
Brooklyn.
daughter's in Brooklyn. Don't ask me where, but she lives in Brooklyn.
Yeah, so Brooklyn has changed. Is now becoming like high rise, like Manhattan.
Oh wow!
I saw it, brother. My sister was there. I used to visit. It didn't change. You can get a cab and everything now, boy.
Whoa.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I don't say the best for last. We got the one and only Mr. Vernon Morris on here. So
yes, sir.
More entertainment, baby.
West Coast, baby.
Okay,
West Coast.
Let them know where you at, the name of your show, and what year you started.
Okay, more and more entertainment. And what are we celebrating? Like 30 years? So that's going back to what year would that be? 30 years ago.
30, my son was born 1995.
Okay. So like, hey, I've been on for like 30 years ago, more and more entertainment. My first artist was Domino. I was managing him before I went into the video show. Domino was one of my main artists, you know, but
Really?
more and more entertainment, Lancaster, California, you know, and we rocked and rolled, KPAL TV, video, cable and network TV. And
Man.
like, hey, it was rocking and rolling since, and I was fortunate enough to be a member of the Video Programmers Association, and we ruled. We went to every video, not only video, we was invited all over the world. I was one of the few people that wanted to trip all the way to Amsterdam myself. That's another story. Nasty is still mad at me about that, you know. But yeah, we were the
We used to travel,
forerunners
didn't
of,
we?
we were the forerunners of what MTV and all these other people have done and are doing and doing right now. We laid the foundation for that. Working with every major record label, every major hip hop artist, R&B, rapper, we promoted them and we got them on the map. And we didn't get no residuals. That's another story. Anyway,
I still got
We didn't get a dime from it.
Oh, but I got my plaques. I have to admit, I got my plaques.
Yeah, but you know, the only one who made money, I think the only one who made money was Ralph McDaniels from Video Music Box.
Oh my gosh, Ralph McDaniels.
We, you know, the one thing that I will say that, you know, in meeting those artists and like you said, Vernon, and dealing directly with them before they got famous, you know, we got the opportunity to throw parties for them when they blew up. Like, you know, I did stuff with Usher and all these other people, Alicia Keys and you know, but what you brought up that I wanted to kick on so y'all could talk about, man, them impacts and those Jack the Rappers and those what was the one in Palm Springs we used to go to?
That was
with David, what you call it? Impact.
That was the Impact, but also with what was the music videos? I mean, what was the name of that magazine? Not just Impact, but the one.
David Lilly, Urban Network.
Urban Network. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And remember, what was the one we went to Miami at the Fontainebleau, and then we went to Nashville, and we went to just, you know, all these places. And I remember
you name it.
Yes. And I remember like, you remember they would put us in these plush hotels, and I remember like staying in between Eminem and Redman in Nashville, you know, like, and not wanting to go down to the stuff that we had to do because these cats was right next to us. You know, we just set the camera up. Me and John Reed and Sean from Cincinnati, you know, all of the relationships that we developed for 30 years was crazy, man.
You know, and it's crazy. I still have relationships because I don't know if you guys saw, I just interviewed Money B in Numbskull. You know what I mean?
I saw that.
I can't believe Humpty Dance is gonna be 35 years old. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying?
And you know what I'm saying? Yeah, is just crazy and stuff. Now I'm gonna, you know, like I said, I think Rockefeller's gonna jump on. I do have to say this. We were going to have Ed Waterford, but he does have a family emergency going on. So just keep, you know, him and his family in prayer. But he really wanted to come on, but, you know, families first, most definitely, and stuff. But, you know, first of all, y'all know me, Alita. I'm the one that had, you know, first, I want to give the story though. First, I always give props to Jacqueline, Jacqueline Moore. She has Sacktown Raps. I saw something come across the screen. This was back in the days when you know, watch TV. We didn't watch our phones because we didn't really have the phone back then. And she wanted interns. And I called and stuff. And she just welcomed me in and stuff. And I remember going to San Francisco. I forgot the name of it, you know, and you know, she was teaching me how to do the camera and all that, right? Now, like Jackie, I didn't get in front of the camera. She was behind the camera also. Now she changed the show to Nothing But Funk. Then
Oh,
yeah, then she was like, Alita, I'm done. You go ahead. So
oh
I
yeah.
came with Sacramento funk music videos. And then I left for a couple years and stuff. Then I came back with On the Real music videos. So I think I was on for like, from my whole span was 1993 to 2007 and stuff. And you know, I was fortunate, you know, my favorite part, I don't know about you guys, and Chris, I'll let you talk, you know, too, but I love the local artist. You know what I mean? Because the local artists, because I remember how they used to stand in front of the liquor stores with the CDs, and they would be like, "Oh, this is my CD," and I'll be like, "I'm not going to buy it, but I put you on TV."
Yep.
That's what I know. And you know what? And everybody to this day would say, somebody told my son, they go, "Your mama put a lot of people on."
Put
They
them
put
on.
a lot of people on and stuff, you know. And you know, I just had T Nutty on the show. I did T Nutty's first interview and stuff, you know what I mean? And you know, it
Uh,
just, you know, when to go back and look, you know, and stuff, you know, back to stuff like that. Now, Chris, what memories do you have? You know, what do you want to share?
Oh, I have a lot of great memories. I mean, I remember putting people on. I remember talking to Eminem before he even got started.
Mm.
yep.
I met him, believe it or not, I met him through Smith and Wesson and through Buckshot Shorty. They was at Speed. Remember the nightclub Speed?
Yep.
Right? That's why I met Eminem. And he was sitting down there. He was nobody. He was just working for the street team for Duck Down Records. And he sat down with me the entire night talking to me. And I was looking at him and he was telling me, "Oh man, I'm gonna be great one day. I'm gonna be great." He told me, "Yo, take my number. Because one day when I'm gonna be great, you're gonna regret you didn't take my number, right?" So I took his number, right? And he gave me like this little record that he pressed up, talking about he wanted to kill his grandmother.
Oh,
So
what?
I'm looking right. So I'm looking at Eminem, right? He was calling himself Matthew back then. So I'm
Right.
looking at him. I was like, "What do you do for a living?" He say, "I don't even work, man. I just like do street team for Duck Down Records." So I said, so he told me through Duck Down Records, I believe he met all these other rappers, and he's one of them put him on to Dr. Dre. And he told me he had a meeting with Dr. Dre and wish him good luck and say a prayer for him, and hopefully he catch on. And if he catch on, he's gonna remember who I am. So I said, "Man, I'll help you out," because I told him I do this little TV show, Chris Music Concepts. So I kept in contact with him for a month, and then like a year later, I'm turning on MTV and I'm seeing this guy going Slim Shady, Slim Shady, right? And I said, "Oh my God, that's the same guy." But by the time he had changed his number and he had become so large that I couldn't even, you couldn't even get in contact with him again. But what's so funny, man, I stayed in contact with Duck Down Records, so I still got a chance to talk to him through different people at Duck Down Records or whatever, man. But he's a nice guy. We just did one of the people I'm working with, Papa Josh. He just did an interview on Eminem's radio
K45.
845, yeah. So it's amazing. And then I worked with another group who I introduced a girl Benita to Next. Remember Next the group?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we used to do this. Remember a guy who we used to hang with all the time, Mike Cole?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the legendary Mike Cole.
Party records.
Right.
Mike. Oh, damn.
Lord.
Yeah. And
Mike,
yeah, it was crazy back then because it was me, it was Nasty, it was Bless Me Videos, it was D Mitch, it was Ken Murphy.
Mitch. Damn, he done took it back.
Oh, remember this kid? I don't know. Do you remember this kid? I Love Isaiah.
Isaiah. That
Right. He's in jail, right? For murder.
Oh, good
oh,
Lord. Jesus.
Yeah. Remember he used to come with his t-shirt and he always had this t-shirt. I Love Isaiah. Yeah, he's in jail on murder. He killed some guy.
Oh, wow.
And then
Y'all
In New
remember?
York?
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, and then remember Huxley Harlem?
No.
Yes.
They killed him. They murdered him in Harlem.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of different things happened the reason I found out all about this is because I kept in contact with Jay Lace, and Jay Lace did that TV show with me. So it's a lot of things went down, a lot of things that that was kind of crazy. But I always remember the people right here, the ones I'm talking to right now, and I'm glad that y'all are okay. But like we did a whole lot of different things.
Oh,
We
yeah.
We
launched,
did, man.
we
You
opened the
know,
doors for what is going on right now. A lot of these people don't give thanks, man. But if it
No.
was for local cable, these people trying to shut down cable access channels and all this stuff going on right now. But if it wasn't for cable access channels, no
Duh.
would have gotten their start because you had to pay MTV, you had to pay the radio station, and you had
yeah,
to pay Ralph McDaniels just to do an interview. We did
yeah,
it for almost for free.
yeah. And I don't know if you all remember, but like when I was doing my radio or the video show, I had signed a deal with Martell. So I was doing those Martell parties in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. And that's when I, got to like my TV show went from just Chicago local. I signed that deal with WGN. So I was on the nationwide station of WGN. And then that's when I met one of my mentors, before I used to could say this and it was great, Sean Combs, who
There you
used to
go.
hire me to DJ, you guys, if you remember,
Yes.
DJ. And but I only DJ until noon, fellas. Till midnight. I was gone. I wasn't freaking out.
Amen. It's
No
all right.
baby oil. But and I got mixed emotions about that because it's hard to see somebody who did so much for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, guy didn't know me from Adam, and every time I came to New York, went to do a video interview or something, laid out the table, took us to BBQs, and took me to the tunnel, and took us all over, and introduced me to all types of people. Man, that's what I really loved about these, us and all these relationships we have with the video shows is that, every month or every two, I can't remember how many times we used to get together, but when we go to Miami and when we all stayed together, So if one of us didn't get to interview, we wouldn't interview the person unless all of us, remember, we would stand in line.
Yes.
Busta Rhymes, if he ain't do it more and more, he ain't do it with us. If he ain't do it with me, y'all ain't let him do it. We did it all together,
All together. You know.
Man, but I don't miss that. Karen, back in the days, I had to carry the recorder, the lights, and
Hey, everything.
oh my,
Hey.
you don't put the big old camera on, and I remember the VHS tape got stuck when Rapping Forte came to my house to do an interview, and then right when he ran out, right when he left. Then it started working out to run out and get him and stuff. And he came back and did an interview and stuff. You guys, we got another up here near me. We got Rockefeller. James Rockefeller just came on. James, tell
What's
people where
happening?
you from, when you started the show, the name of your show.
All right, first I apologize. I'm a public address announcer. I was doing the game, so I rushed to get here, but it's all good. My name is James Ciro Rockefeller III. My company is VJTV, the Visual Radio Network. We're a music entertainment television network here in the San Francisco Bay Area, programming music entertainment, celebrity interviews, and event coverage. I erected VJTV probably about 1995, but I also used to work for the Sobe Television Network, was the first Black-owned television network in the country, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I was a VJ on there. I had a morning show for 5 hours, 5 days a week. So with Soul Beat and VJ TV, man, I think music entertainment is basically the funnest thing I've ever done in entertainment, besides doing stand up. I enjoyed. I started on public access in 1989 in San Francisco, City Visions Channel 25, and we had an audience. We had three shows on. One show was live, and one show was two shows were pre-recorded. So just being on this panel with y'all, I came in when you was telling your stories about being at some of those events, and I was like, oh man, the memories. I still got
Man,
I still got about 3 or 4 different formats. I got shows on 3/4. I got shows on VHS. I got shows on Digital 8. I got shows
I know.
on mini
Oh
there
my
you go,
DV,
God.
brother.
and I got files.
Oh my
There
God.
you go.
But
Man,
man, and
that's crazy. That's crazy. Mr. Morris, what famous memories, I mean, what memories do you have that you want to share, like, with the show?
You know, one of my best memories, they mentioned Mike Cole. Because when actually, I was managing doing Domino and doing that type of stuff down there, artists. And I'm an accountant. And this radio station, KPAL Television, I went up there, and I took Domino up there to do some a show. We did a show up there, and then went around different radios, record shops. And the owner of KPAL Television, he heard me through Yule, which is on the bar up there, and he said, "Oh," he said, "Just have him come talk." He knew I was an accountant. He brought me over there, and I saved KPAL. Internal Revenue was getting ready to shut them down. He said, "Hey, well, what?" He said, "Well, as you know, I'm broke." I said, "Well, I want to do it. I'll do a show then." He gave me an hour. As a matter of fact, I never paid. He gave me an hour and it went on. And that's when I began to start doing music videos. So what I did back in the early 90s, so I went down to Mike Cole. I said, "Mike, I'm getting ready to do a video show." He said, "Okay." Mike Cole went in the archive and gave me every No Limit and everybody else video that I just gave me this. Gave me stuff to give away. He said, "Hey, and it's like, hey, I want you to do some interviews." And they put me on a little payroll, was making a little money doing some interviews for him. Michael Cole was the crux of More and More Entertainment because I did not know. I said, "Where am I going to get?" I was going to go to the record store and buy some video. No, he said, "Hey, your license to do all this stuff, play it, it's yours." Bam, Michael Cole. That was the beginning of More and More, really, as far as the video portion. And then, of course, all of you guys came into being, and I said, "Okay, well, yeah, I want it, duh." And it's phenomenal. We cannot really say everything that we're doing now and trying to mention it. That's why. So I'm listening to a lot of people talk about what we have been held back from. We was not held back from anything.
Nothing.
We rock and roll. We was flying on jets here and there, all the major cities. Like I said, international. Getting money. They said, "Why are you getting paid?" Checks were coming in. They got a little money. I didn't get any royalties. I got some royalties from Domino, but I didn't get any royalties like from all these things. But we got money. The record companies would send us money. They would also send us back. I would play these for us. We got money to play stuff. Well, hey, payola.
Yeah.
What can we do? But that was the biggest thing in my life when I was doing that. And when they topped it off, when I won that trip to go to Amsterdam, I said, like, whoa, and everybody talk about MTV. We were pre-MTV.
And the
We
thing,
were pre-MTV.
and the thing that made us different was MTV would pick and choose the top rap songs that they wanted to play while I was breaking out Twister, while I was playing Do or Die. And another story to talk about what you was talking about. So I'm in Chicago and we're going around with our video cameras, and one of the guys, Shrewd Marketing, I don't know if you guys remember Shrewd Marketing, but they gave out all of the other videos. They were like independent video people. So we would go down to them every week, and every week we'd have a Channel Zero was a video show, and there was a guy following us in Channel Zero, and he kept on saying, "I'm gonna be a rapper, I'm gonna be a rapper." It was Kanye. Kanye used to
Oh,
Kanye
Lord.
used to, yeah, man, Kanye been doing that stuff for a long time, following cats. And he was trying to have a music video show with Channel Zero, following cats around. We see him at Shrewd Marketing, and then all of a sudden, when he did that thing for Jay-Z, it was just like, wait a minute, that's old boy that was following everybody around. And we got stories like that.
I'm going to show y'all something. Remember these?
Yep.
Wow.
Speaking of Mike Cole, I got the Little John, I got Do or Die came to my house and did it, but I got 3 plaques. This is when they took care of us. They put our names on these.
Yes,
I
they
got
did.
a bunch of
And I
those.
know.
You know what I mean? So
I
yeah,
got a bunch of
Yeah.
too.
but that was just, it was, they took so much care of us. Mike Cole, Murder Inc., the guy at Murder Inc. and stuff. And who was, remember Death Row, the little, I thought he was black. And Mike Cole told me, he said, no, Lita, the dude's Asian over there, Death Row.
And remember, what's the lady from Capitol Records that was handled Ice Cube for
Lisa?
us?
Was it Lisa?
No, not Lisa. Patricia Charbonnet.
Ah,
Patricia Charbonnet, and obviously Diane Blankham. She used to take care of us.
Yeah.
And
yep,
Montez,
yep.
Chanel.
Montez Miller,
Yes,
Chanel
okay.
Green, Lisa
Yeah.
Rowe, Harvey Romaine, rest in
Deidre,
peace.
we can't forget about Deidre in case she's
Deidre
watching.
Gary. Yeah.
So,
Deidre Gary. That's the
Deidre
homie.
Gary,
Yeah.
that's my girl.
It's still the
she's
homie.
probably watching because I tagged
She
her.
is
I tagged her
still
about
the
this.
homie.
I
Deidre,
see you so cool on Facebook.
I
And
used to
Lisa
love Deidre
Stewart.
Gary because she used to cuss me out for not sending her my playlist.
Hey,
Like if I didn't
What was
send
the
it
other
to her
one?
in a timely
send no
manner,
playlist in.
she would let me have it. Her and Diane would let me have it. Like, Rock, where's the playlist, bruh? Where's the
Yep.
playlist? Where's the
Yep.
playlist, bruh? Where's the playlist? Hey, what you were
Lou.
saying about Mike Cole, man? Mike Cole turned out to be a good friend. I think when we first met, it was kind of like oil and water. You know what I mean? Because it was like I was working at Soul Beat, and I think he had just got with Priority or something like that. And I think he was trying to like big time me. And me, back in the day, I had an attitude. So
And he had
our
a-
attitudes just didn't clash. And we ended up being like super cool. Because when I was wearing Soul Beat, man, I run that, bruh. You understand me? And if I want to play your video, I'll play, I was doing that. And we turned out to be hella cool because he was inviting me to like video shoots. He took me on a tour
Yeah.
of Priority Records. He used to take care of me. So yeah, Mike
Take
Cole
care of
is
all
that's
of
the
us.
homie.
Michael
He's
told
homie.
all of us. And you know what? I need to, for a couple of people that did pass away and stuff, we got to recognize Chaz. I remember,
Yes.
when he was working for Rockefeller, right? And remember,
Chaz was my guy.
we had to fax over our playlist back in the days and stuff.
Hey.
And then Lou Scarelli, rest in peace.
Okay.
But Chaz
Just made me emotional talking about Chaz. He made me emotional talking about Chaz because Chaz was another one of those guys who looked out when we went to New York and looked out for us. And another one, like I said, like you said, Hervé Romaine, who was at Interscope.
Yes.
Okay.
Hervé passed away, and Hervé was one of those guys who leveled the playing field for us. So, like, what was the name? Gwen Stefani's group? No Doubt.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Remember, they was like winning everything. But if you remember, sometimes because we were black videos, they wouldn't let us cross the line. Remember? So, like, No Doubt wasn't in our interview list. But Hervé would get the videos to us and put us on the list. So when things happen, like I remember being out here, Alita, like when I lived in Chicago, coming out here, being at the Four Seasons at the junkets, going to interview No Doubt because of Hervé Romaine.
See?
Nancy Byron at Warner Brothers.
Nancy was the girl.
Remember Vernon?
Yes.
One of my stories is I was interviewing Kid Capri. And when I met Genuine event later on, I told him, I said, hey, I was looking for you. And after I interviewed Kid Capri, and we ran into Timberland. Now Timberland was new back then. And then my ex-husband, who was the host, I said, oh, there's Timberland. And he goes, who's that? And Timberland heard him.
Yeah.
And then Aaliyah came. She didn't know I was standing there with the big camera. She was, giving her sister brotherly hug to Timberland. And I go, excuse me, Aaliyah. She turned around and she saw me, Aaliyah talked to me for about 5 minutes, and then her dad came out and he thanked me for playing her videos. And he was like, she's tired and stuff, and everything, but we just want to tell you, we appreciate you. I thought that was amazing. You know what I mean? But I was blessed to meet, Aaliyah and everything, even though she didn't. It was funny how the story went. She didn't always behind her. And
Yeah, Aaliyah was so nice, and so every time we met her,
very low key.
Her and Timberland, as you say, I remember. I think we were all in Nashville when Genuine's album came out. Remember, we were at an Impact or something in Nashville, and Timberland. You get Grand Ole Opry, correct? remember how big that hotel was?
Yo.
But anyway, I remember Timberland and introduced us to Genuine there, and it was with what's the two dudes that used to be with you know who I'm talking about. They managed Genuine early on. They were in R. Kelly's camp, but they managed Aaliyah. What's those two dudes? They were brothers.
Oh gosh.
You know I'm talking about, Vernon.
Yeah. Let me.
Can't remember their
name.
Oh
God.
I can't remember their names.
I can't even know right now.
I say that to say that Missy, Timberland, Aaliyah combo, they were as hot as fish grease, and we got to sit and interview them as a collective, all of us. And I always tell my kids, because my daughter's 17, the other one 12. They don't ever believe nothing I tell them. I tell them, y'all just don't even know.
Video, man, you got to show them the video.
They don't want to see it. I tell them, we was with NWA and everybody, but like when you talked about Domino burning, I think you're the one who let me interview the brother. Remember Domino was
Domino was hot, hey, but when you were talking, archive stuff, C Murder. I had one of the last interviews with him before he bought that farm type thing.
Right.
Master P, they shot a video in California, up in the hills somewhere like in there. It was at like a barn, but like that's, and I said I was talking to Master P, was interviewing Master. I said, Master P, I say, is it okay if I talk to C? Hey, yeah. And I got that interview with C Murder. I cherish that forever, And then when I ran to C Murder was during that time, and P was in Beverly Hills. They was they was in Beverly Hills at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. Some things was going on. I think And I walked up and P had all these. So I was walking. I was in the that was right after things started happening with our Video Programs Association area during that era,
Right.
But I walked up, I was going there, and P had all his bodyguards around him, and I was in the lobby at the hotel, and so I looked up, and I said, hey, and P said, hey, let these guys come by. I said, I want to just speak to you. I said, hey, P, I just want to show your appreciation, man, for all the things you've been doing for more and more. He said, oh, no, okay, I appreciate, taking time, me and my brothers and stuff like that. Boom, bam, bam, in and out and go, they ain't making no long conversation, but the fact they take time to communicate with you, and they remember you, that's,
Now,
we got videos every week from Master P. He did a video every week.
He was on his stuff. He was on it.
No.
Alita, I want to hear some more about Alita. I want to hear some more about Digital Underground in them, man. Tell us, because you was out here, man.
Man, Money B, that he gave you saw that interview. He gave so many stories, about how they met Pac and everything. But I want to say something really quick. I'm gonna go right back because we didn't mention somebody, but I gotta tell a story. I was driving and I got a call to interview Keisha Cole, right? And the guy who called me, he was like, she's from your area. She got a song on Barbershop 2 soundtrack, blah, blah, blah. Can you interview her? And I was like, yeah, I might be able to interview her and stuff. So I wound up being able to get the camera and stuff. Now, the person that called me was Mr. Dwayne McClary. So we got to get a shout out to MC Records. Dwayne McClary. So Dwayne from MC Records took care of us all the time. So
he's still taking care of us. He's still taking care of us.
Yes, so I had to say that, no, I became good, it was just a blessing, like you said, we do these, we was doing the video shows and stuff. We were the outlet, you know what I mean? People came to us, the local major, we were, I could just imagine Chris out there in New York, because he was out there in New York, so I know he was getting hit up, but, people, we, how do I say, we were the outlet. I keep saying we were the outlet because there were no internet stuff. There were no phones and everything.
We had AOL, remember?
Yeah.
With the dial-up.
Oh my God,
We didn't have
AOL. Yeah,
YouTube. We didn't
AOL.
have no YouTube, no Facebook.
No, yes, we had nothing. It was us,
Reaching out to us, covered coast to coast, north to south.
Yeah.
All our video shows, we covered the country for them.
And you know how
And
we
that
knew
was-
about each other? From being an Urban Network magazine. Remember how
Yeah.
Oh, Dwayne.
I remember when I got married, Dave Lilly posted,
David Little,
Alita got a man.
Dave
Remember Shantae?
Dave Little had our back. He had our back.
Remember when
David
Shantae
Lilly.
came out with Shantae's Got a Man? David Lilly gonna put Alita Got a Man in the Urban Network magazine. But he,
David Lilly.
he gave us our recognition and Hits magazine. I was in Hits magazine.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
know,
He put our playlist in there, everything, the videos. Oh God.
Alita, I'd like to give a shout out to the Billboard though, because Billboard used to have the music video awards,
that's right.
and they were the only people that was doing that.
Mhm.
And they did it for years, and they used to give local video shows awards. And
Take
it
a
was a
look.
whole conference, and they would invite the record companies, and we got to ask the record companies questions like, "Why y'all don't give us no money?" You know what I mean? But it was a cool conference. I think I went like 4 or 5 years straight. I remember when they had it out in Santa Monica, and that's when the Fugees first came out.
Yeah.
They had the Fugees, they had Pink. That was her first year. They had Black. That was their first year because they used to do Artist Showcase. And
That was
we
the
got
first award I won.
right. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we yeah, man, we got those artists before anybody knew who they were.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Which is a cool thing. And I still got that in the archives somewhere. You know what I mean? So yeah, Billboard, I really appreciated that award. And I remember one year I went to the Billboard, I think it was in Beverly Hills. And I went out, that's my first year of VJ TV. I went out with my crew. We had matching jackets, the whole nine. And we had rented a hotel room at one of the Beverly Hills hotels for like a few hours. And we gave a party. And we were doing interviews in there. We were serving up blue martinis. And that's what people remember us by, the blue martinis. And this one cat that was in there, he had ordered this cart of liquor. And at the Beverly Hills Hotel, all this probably cost you thousands. And when it came to the door, I was like, man, I didn't order that. And dude was like, no, I ordered it. Cool. It was all good. The next day, that dude called me and he had asked me, and I think that's when cell phones was first coming out, when you was paying for minutes. Like you had a card, you put like 50 minutes on it or something. He called me and he was like, where are you? And I said, man, I'm on my way back to the Bay. And he said, well, man, I had an interview set up with LSG. And that was the first year that they had, what was it, LeVert Sweat and Gill.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I missed that. You know what I mean? But, just stuff like that. Billboard, man, that awards was nice. And they had a lot of people there. I think Montel Jordan was there one year. We got to interview, and they would invite a lot of artists there. And that's where we met cats from that dude, what was his name, from Quest Records? That used to send us videos.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, exactly.
Who was it?
I still got a electronic Rolodex with everybody's phone numbers still in it, from all the record companies and the people that used to send us videos. I still got it.
Yeah.
I still got them numbers.
Chris, you want? Were you going to say something?
No, I said, what about Anne Marie? She was
Oh,
pretty.
Anne-Marie.
Anne-Marie Strickland. That's right.
Anne-Marie
Strickland. Yep.
Yes.
And Jody Riddick. We got
And Jody Riddick.
Jody Riddick. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're still my Facebook friends and stuff. But
Me too.
I wouldn't be surprised if Anne Marie's watching. That's my girl right there. That's my
And who was the guy
Hey.
from, what was his name? R&R Freelance, the little Jewish cat.
Oh my
Yeah, that
God.
little Jewish guy. Yeah, he was pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Claudine, right? Claudine from R&R Freelance. Yeah.
Claudine from R&R, yes,
Yeah.
and Tina Dunn from Disney.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was one person from LA.
And Crystal,
Crystal-
you know,
There was
Crystal,
one
yeah,
that
it was
was from
Atlanta.
LA.
It was Christina
She used to
Alexander,
send
right?
us a lot of
oh,
independent
Christina
artists.
Alexander. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Y'all
the name.
remember Taja Ray Southwell at Arista?
I
Oh my
remember that.
goodness.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
Now let me tell
Whoa,
you how, you
we're
know,
going back.
kind of letting
Yeah.
everybody know, like, I remember when time started changing. I don't know if you guys did too. Like, you know, I would turn on the radio and the artists be up there and stuff. I'm like, well, how come the record labels didn't call me? You know? And then I remember it was Universal Records. Something, I forgot, something happened. Oh, God, remember we got that letter. They wanted us to pay to
To
get
pay for
started.
video.
That's right.
To the videos.
That's what, and then I was like, what? And then I forgot what happened. The girl up there, I forgot her name. She called me, she's like, Lita, what's going on? She sitting up
That's
there running
right.
Universal Records and didn't even know. She goes, what? I said, your job didn't tell you they sent all the video shows after we done all these years. Now they want us to pay to play their
They
artist
need to
video.
play.
Yeah, but you
And I
know what's
remember
so
one time I met I was outside, Most Def was in Sacramento. And I remember they said, well, do you want to interview Most Def? And I looked at Most Def, I go, you didn't hear what your label did? He goes, what? I said, they want video shows. And Most Def looked at it, he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. I said, so we're not doing, I said, I don't interview. I'm not getting Universal Video, so I don't interview the artist anymore. I told Most Def that to his face. He was cool, but he was shocked. He was like, really? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what happened, right? You know, with that same thing, I got a phone call once from Nicki Minaj asking me why I wasn't playing her video.
Mm.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's crazy, right?
You know,
She was like, didn't you get my video? I was like, yeah, I got your video. She said, why are you not playing it? I was like, they want me paid to play it. She was like, that shit, let me call them now. Well, she was out in LA. And she put an end to that. I started getting her video like constantly.
well, you know, being in Chicago, George over at George's Music Room called us in because they was giving him a hard time too. And if you know the stories about George, when you wanted something sold, the record labels called him, and his music moved out of his record store. And Common had just moved from Relativity Records to MCA Records, if you remember. So like Water for Chocolate was it. And I was like, all right, Chicago, I'm gonna put this video on the air. And that's when I got that letter and said, you can't play this. And I said, shit. We about to fuck this, Jack. I don't know what you're talking about. Sydney. This is Chicago.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's when
That letter hurt us. Alita, that letter hurt us. It stopped our progress, because I don't know about y'all, but I'm assuming we all did. I remember, I'm sure we all had P.O. boxes. And I remember going in my P.O. box, $1,000 from Polydor, $500 from Arista.
You said the P.O. box. They used to hate me at my P.O. box because I would go see them like every 2 or 3 weeks, and I'd have like nothing
Wait a
but
minute, hold on.
videos.
It's
Them
James.
big 3/4.
Yeah. James Morris, is your mic still working?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. But yeah, that letter, but it was crazy because they didn't even tell the employees sitting up in there. And I can't believe I can't remember the sister's name sitting up there in Universal. Cause she called me and she was like, Alita, what is going on? Vernon, what's your memory on that?
Miriam was like, I'm outie, because I'm bowdy. I went more back into my accounting thing for a while. I said, cause what the main thing that happened is that my television station, Ray Horn, he died and he died, fell dead at Costco. And like after that, things got really shaky at the at the television station there and so forth. His wife couldn't handle it. The people that was handling was messing up stuff. Now and then they wanted to cut my. They want to start charging me for my show because I wasn't paying anything for my show, and I had 2 hours a week. They want to start
Wow.
charging me, and I said, well, like, hey, well, look, no, I mean, I got a deal. Well, no, no, no. So after that, I said, well, like, no. So I just went back to doing my accounting and stuff like that. And I said, like, hey, I'm not going to search for another outlet because that outlet was mine. I had over 1 million people, but I wasn't going to look for another outlet. And plus, the radio record companies would start doing stuff. Our situation, with our association start breaking down a little bit and so forth. So like, hey, I said, hey, I'm good. I'll play the hand I got, which is what I did and what I'm doing right now. That's why I'm living in Arizona right now on the lake, but that's another story. And but no, but
yeah.
But go on. What was that?
I was gonna say, but I'm glad we did our show back then
Oh,
because the
absolutely.
music is so different now.
Not to, but this is what, and my wife has been on me forever because I said like, since the podcast is so much in, I'm going to start doing a podcast. I'm going to make, I don't wait to say it. And somebody can still have to. And my podcast is going to definitely be based upon, where are they now? Because the archives that we have, that we own the rights to, that's what I'm coming with. And I'm going to, that, where are they now? Because we got some people that some people never heard of in our archives, and we got some that's up, large and in charge that we set the stage for to go there. And I'm just going to hey, do my podcast. I'll keep you guys posted on how that's going to work out and when it's going to work out, because hey, that's what I'm going to be about doing in my spare time.
Yeah, we're going to support you. Now,
I know that.
Yeah, a couple other things. Now one of the things, somebody, I forgot who called me, right? They go, Lita, who was that? Anyhow, they put Suge Knight on the phone with me.
Yeah, definitely.
And Suge Knight told me, he goes, I remember you took good care of my record label.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot who put Suge Knight on the phone with me. It was years ago, but it was crazy because you see the big wigs and stuff. I remember calling Rockefeller Records and Dame Dash answering the phone.
Oh yeah.
I remember something even more dangerous than that, because I knew DJ Clark Kent, right? So he invited me up to Rockefeller Records, and I was there when Jay-Z and Dame Dash was going at it.
What?
They was going at it. And that's when Jay-Z said, F Dame Dash, and he wanted Dame Dash out his face. And then right after that, I saw the collapse of Rockefeller Records.
Oh, wow. You was right there?
I was right there. And then I was right there when they signed Rihanna too. She came in with Dame Dash, and then the receptionist say, I said, who's that? She said, oh, that's a new artist that they trying to woo to sign with them.
Who was that? Who was it?
They was trying to milk her, to sign
Rihanna.
Rihanna.
Oh.
Yeah.
So finally they got her to sign for her, and then they milk up every dime. They kept every dime she made. So she didn't make a dime off Rockefeller Records.
Man.
Alita.
Yeah, they cleaned her out.
Crazy, yes.
You brought up Suge Knight, and I think one of the scariest interviews I ever had was with Suge Knight. It was during the Billboard Music Awards, and they I used to do stuff with Playboy, right? So I had on all my Playboy gear, and my cameraman and I, we was just like, hey man, what we gonna do tonight? It was like, hey, let's try to let's go, get our way into a party, right? Because we had a little press IDs or whatever. So we go down the street, and Death Row was throwing a party. So when we walked to the door, we was gonna just like, peruse our way up in there, mouthpiece or whatever. The security was at the door, and they was like, Playboy, hold on, right? And I was like, what's this about? So security guard left, came back 2 minutes later and said, follow me, walk me directly to Suge Knight. So we interviewing Suge Knight, and I'm scared to death, right? Because Suge Knight has a presence. Like he has this presence. He up there, everybody in the club wearing red. You know what I mean? And that ain't my scene. I'm from the Bay, so you know, you know the blood thing is just ain't me. And he introduced me to one of his new rappers or whatever. And you know, usually when you're a host, you don't give up the microphone. So this cat, he started freestyling. Then he took the mic from me. I let him. And then I tried to get the mic back. He wouldn't give it back. So I must have got like a 15 to 20 minute freestyle with this cat. I just let him go. And it was females in there with stogies and surprisingly, Dougie Fresh was the host.
Dougie Fresh?
Hey,
Dougie Fresh was hosting this event.
While you're on Suge Knight, and I'm only gonna say this, but I love him. You know, hope all peace and well and everything as well. But I had two of the craziest run-ins in my life with him. One at the Source Music Awards. I was the one that y'all heard about. You remember that? I was downstairs. I was downstairs with TJ. You guys remember TJ from Chicago with the video show?
Yeah.
So me and TJ and my cameraman were downstairs, and you guys heard about this. So Biggie was walking on the side, and Tupac was walking down the stairs, and I was interviewing Snoop to the left of me, and I'm not gonna say someone yelled out, you know, that's why some things about your wife, and we had it. So my cameraman just kind of turns the camera to get all of that, and I see the biggest, because at that time he was probably 400 pounds, all pounds of muscle, right? So I see the biggest thing I've ever seen walking towards me, and he said, "Turn that camera off, fat boy," and took our camera and broke my tape, bro.
Whoa.
oh,
Damn.
well, while we talk about those big guns, I mean, I thought it was a really pleasant. When I had my interview, a Baby in the crew was performing. Baby was cool in the game, you know. Baby came to us and just, hey, oh, you're the video man? Yes, Mike. Hey, look. Oh, I'm just so beautiful. Oh, you guys here, thank you guys very much. Oh, he was just like, just rocking and rolling, but he was cool in the game. He said, you got to be playing I appreciate it, big time. Hey, you know, whenever you're down in the South, hey, come by. Okay, I got you, no problem. I'm Baby, you know me, I'm Baby, you know. I said, yes, sir. But yeah, I mean, I never had a bad problem with Sugar and those guys. I mean, I just was in and out, you know. But Baby was, hey, I had to give Baby his props. I get Baby his props. Baby hooked the brother up, and I ain't mad at him.
Wow.
To be on record, there wasn't a problem. They just took my stuff.
Man, they broke. So your stuff got broke? Oh man. How long did it take for you to get back up and running again?
So the sad part was the camera was good, but now remember, this was the Source Awards in '95. I'm backstage downstairs in the belly of Madison Square Garden, where all the VIP rooms are full of rappers, Salt-N-Pepa, LL Cool J, everybody that you can think of. And I interviewed every one of them, one after the other, on VHS tape from Montgomery Ward's. Remember the camera? The tape kick out like this.
Yes.
You pull it out.
Yes.
You put another one in, kick it back in. And I'm interviewing, when I'm telling you, remember when you was at like one of the conferences and you have 20 or 30 interviews on one tape, that's what he broke my
Whoa.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
That was your whole life, man. He took your whole life when he did that.
Chris said he took your whole life, yeah.
Mind you, after I interviewed Snoop went on stage and said, "So the East Coast ain't got no love for Snoop Dogg? That's me. I'm there with the camera."
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh. That's just heartbreaking. Oh my God.
And had my cameraman shaking. My cameraman stopped doing camera work after that. He was like, "Man, this is too much, bro. Come on here for this." Because it was like 30 blood, you know what I'm saying? It was like deep.
Wow.
Wow, wow, wow,
And
wow.
if you remember, that's when Puff and Shook, it really could have went down that night.
Yeah.
It was like, Alita, it was nervous. And Chris, it was nervous up in that piece, yo.
It was indeed. It was indeed crazy.
That's the one thing I don't miss about us being so close around those people when they had beef. I know y'all all got stories about that. You know,
Yeah, we mad beef when Biggie Smalls the thing out in Brooklyn, out at when Biggie Smalls had that signing thing, he was signing it at that Beach Street or something like that.
oh yeah.
Oh my God, man, he blamed me and Bless Me videos for causing this shit.
For real?
And ever since then, he had beef with me. Like he saw every time he saw me, he wouldn't talk, man. He would not let me interview him. Biggie Smalls
Oh, wow.
would not let me interview.
Crazy.
Yeah, I don't have no stories like that. 95, I was on break. I was having a baby.
Oh,
I was having a baby in 95. So
It was
oh
my
God.
Tina Dunn just sent me an email. Need you to play something. There you go. I should tell her we all on the phone.
Oh, you know who we forgot? Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, thank you.
Mary
That's what I
Ann.
was trying to say.
Right?
Mary
Mary
Ann,
Ann for
Big
Big
Bud.
Mary Ann. That was
Thank
my
you.
girl.
Yes, Mary Ann. I was trying to get
She
that
was
in.
cool, man.
Buzz from Big Buzz.
Big
That
Buzz
was my
Entertainment.
homie.
Yeah, Mary Ann took care of us. Yeah. You guys
Oh,
out there in Facebook world, with the video shows that, we got so much history that, like I said, I wanted to bring all of us together so people kind of, know where we came from, what I mean? Like what started the music industry and everything,
right.
how it was back in days. I kind of really miss it, the way it was, because now with all this internet stuff, the videos are being made any kind of way and all kinds of way, and it's putting on all types of platform. I mean, you'd be like, wow, but some are good.
AI
Some are very,
generated.
very good. Some are professional, but it's just a whole different world now. So that's why I started doing these Zoom interviews, because people was like, bring the show back, bring the show back. This is like the best way for me to do it. Send out a Zoom link and go live on Facebook, and then I post it up on YouTube,
A lot of well,
it's a
the
whole
thing
different
was
world
is
now.
that the thing was is that a lot of us we had our own equipment, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had back in the day, we had the lights, we had the cameras, and that wasn't easy to come by because even
Right.
like, some of the professional VHS cameras back in the day was $600-700. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
Yeah.
it was like, we had the equipment, and a lot of cats didn't know what mic flags was back in the day. But if you had a mic flag on your with your
You was
equipment,
looking,
people would
just
take you
like the
serious.
news.
Yeah, they would take you serious, like, oh, who is them right there? You know what I mean? And then they would be approaching you for interviews. And that's how you got a lot. And we had access to basically everything. We used to get press passes to
Yep.
yeah.
everything, you know what I mean? Because we was legit. We were doing things.
Yep.
And a lot of people didn't have that access. So I was doing a lot of stuff outside of the Bay Area. The Bay Area was easy, but I used to go to Los Angeles and Las Vegas a lot and interview people there. You know what I mean? And then you bring that footage back, and you know what I mean? People respected it. And
Speaking
that's
of
the
the
thing. I mean, go
speaking, I
ahead.
was just gonna, speaking of the Bay Area, man, we got to say rest in peace to Dwayne Wiggins, man.
Oh
Definitely.
yes,
Right,
most
Tony,
definitely.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony.
You know how much
Dwayne is
how
up.
many
Tony,
interviews
Tony,
I got?
Tony.
I got a lot of
got-
interviews. I got a lot of stuff on Dwayne. I even interviewed
Yeah.
his kids when they were Pop Life. So
Dwayne allowed me. I took Dwayne. We went to 20 boat rides when I did the Martell parties. Dwayne opened up for me. He discovered India Irie on one of the boat platforms.
Right.
Yeah, Dwayne came to my house.
Wasn't Biz Markie DJing on one of those boats?
I was DJing with Biz Markie. Me and
There
Biz
you
Markie.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
Man, rest
And,
in peace, Biz.
Biz, rest in peace. Biz is one of the first, when Diane brought us out early on, when we all were at like BBQs eating, like one of the first conferences we ever did, like in the early 90s. I hung out with Biz and did an interview with him and then started DJing with him. And Biz picked me up from downtown, and I went back to his house. And this is the first time I've ever been in like the big body Benz. You know, he was famous as hell, and I'm in his Benz, and we riding around.
Well, you went out a little bit.
He playing music I never heard before, and at every stop, people was like, Biz. Like, that's how much this dude was loved everywhere.
Yeah.
And I feel sad because that guy, you know, later on, like my kids know him because of Yo Gabba Gabba. You know, he was on that TV show Yo Gabba Gabba, and they didn't realize how famous he was. But you know, Biz, as soon as he put on "You Got What I Need," anybody in the world will start singing that song. So Dwayne, Biz, we lost Angie Stone. Remember how many interviews she gave us? Angie Stone early on in her career. And
the records, right? Arista.
And then Roy Ayers, you know,
Oh my
that was
God.
that was in the same like 20 days we lost those three artists: Angie Stone, Roy Ayers, and Dwayne Wiggins.
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
Mm.
It's just, man, but at least we, you know, I didn't get a chance to interview, you know, those three, but you know, but they just history, you know. And we got, like, I interviewed Guru from GameStar, you know.
Yes.
You know, and it's funny because at first I was like, oh, at first I thought he was kind of rude and stuff, but then he was the sweetest guy. Guru was hella sweet, you know. You know, some of my, just to kind of each of us to say some of our memorable interviews, like Common. When I interviewed Common, he was like the nicest person, you know. Keisha Cole. When I first interviewed Keisha Cole, she was kind of quiet and stuff. But the next time I interviewed her, she was yelling at her band. I said, "Oh, I see the Oakland in you now." And then one time, you know, the radio station used to be like on the, you know, on the streets and stuff. Well, you know, I turned around, I saw 102 and went over there to Dilo. And he was like, "Lita, this is Universal Records. You know, can you interview them?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I got to go see if I could get the camera," right? So I wound up meeting them down at the Marriott, right, downtown. And Akon, I interviewed Akon. Akon was there. And the girl that never came out, that Eminem did, Dina, her name was Dina or something, you know, she was there. And Mystical's old manager was there. Charles, me and him are still friends to this day. But Akon, when I was leaving, Akon was on the computer and he had told me he was joking around, maybe said he had 5 wives, right? So when he was on the computer, I said, "What are you doing? Emailing your 5 wives?" So he started laughing. He said, "Yeah," you know, and stuff. But you know, but just, you know, have those, you know, the memory. 702. I interviewed 702 back in the days, you know, this is when we used to go to the record stores and when the radio stations used to, you know, we was in good with some of the radio stations. I used to go to 102.5 and like Big Al, rest in peace, Big, you know, and the Bomb. They used to let me up in there and I used to like bring other people that have video shows and magazines and say, "Hey, the record label called me, you know, you want to get this interview." I said, help people out and stuff and everything. But was I the only female doing video show?
No.
No, there was
other
one
females.
more.
There was other females. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you were the only one doing it like you were doing it.
Remember Miss Penny?
Who?
Miss Penny.
Miss Penny.
And then Keep It Moving Kim. Remember Keep It Moving Kim?
I think so. They old school like us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think so. Because when we used to be at like Impact and Jack the Rapper and them, there were some other ladies that were there. But you know, Alita, you stuck out. So you did. We knew you.
Yeah, you know, and I got to give that once again to David Lilly, having my name up in Urban Network. You know, he's when he used to do our playlist. You know, and just, you know, just networking with everybody and stuff.
But remember, Billboard used to pump our playlists too. Remember?
That's right.
That's right.
That's
Billboard
right.
too.
Yeah.
Let me ask y'all a question. How many press passes do you still have from back in the day?
I don't know.
I got them somewhere. I used to have them all.
How many you got?
I gotta look for them.
How many I got? Man, hold on. I got a lot of them on my wall here. Like I got a lot of them on my wall here.
Mhm.
The four best ones I have is the Billboard, BET
All right.
Awards, the Oscars, and the NAACP Image Awards.
Remember
That's the
they used
ones.
to send us to
That's the
the
ones you see on the
BET
shelf.
Awards, man.
Yeah, that's
I
the ones
can't.
you see on the shelf. But I got press passes at the house, at the office. I still got all the lanyards. Like they
Thank you.
they all over the place.
You know,
They're
I got them in all my car. I'm on the road now. If I was in my office, I have my plaques behind me and my press passes are all over the place. I keep one hanging in my car, my wife's car. You know, I got one in my bag. I take it so if I rent a car, and then I got press. Who is this? Who is that? I got press. I look back, I said, whoa, I was a little chunky on this one. You know, no, but I can't even,
and,
I don't know.
and you look at the year.
Yeah, no, dude, that's what I'm talking about. Wait, and I got my press passes, and it's just like I look at them. I say, "Oh, I did go to this center." You know, not only the press passes, I have memorabilia of the T-shirts and jerseys and stuff they gave us
Yep.
and stuff. All that stuff. They said, "That's not what I'm wearing. I'm not wearing. This is all like, hey, you know, just memorabilia. You know, this is my rewards. I don't know. It's not to be worn out." But yeah, those
No.
press passes like middle. When I got my first one, I'm trying to figure out way back where. Actually, I got my first lavalier because I was running with Domino with there for this shows. But like, so I have those also. But with the video show, when I got my first, when I went there and we showed up to sign in, they gave my first press pass. Oh, take a picture. I said, "Whoa, I've arrived." You know, all right, boy,
Were y'all,
boy, in the house. You know.
were y'all with us? Were y'all with us when we were in New York and went to Marcy Projects because Jay-Z was having his album come out and they made this big spread and we was in Marcy Projects eating. Chris, was you at that one?
I was at the
Yeah.
one where Jay-Z was giving out Christmas gifts at Marcy Projects.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had when we got there, they was like, "Stay in your taxi until we send somebody to get you." And I was like, "Shit."
I remember Jazz had called me once and he told me, "Oh, could you meet me at Marcy Projects? Me and Jay-Z want to do an interview with you." I waited there for half an hour. Nobody showed up.
Man, look,
What?
we got out
I
the
was like a sitting duck in Marcy Projects.
Alita, we got out that damn taxi, me and my cameraman Don, and the guys came. He's like, "Yeah, Chicago, right? Chicago." He's like, "Yeah." They took us like through these back ways and all through the projects. And I remember like I didn't leave Chicago to come back up in no projects. That's the ones I'm hearing about in these records. You know, is that the corner where so and so got shot? And Jay-Z said,
Oh my goodness. Did you guys interview Houston? I interviewed Houston right before he gouged his eye out.
"Wow."
Remember when he got, yeah, I think I had interviewed him. Then I think a few weeks later, that's when he did that. I was like, he did what? I had just interviewed, you know.
He was gonna be the star.
I think y'all were fortunate, like if you were like in the South or back East, that you can make like a lot of things that they gave was back there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was rare that they did stuff in California. I think they used to do like the urban video conference out in LA or the new music video conference. They did that in LA and then they did the Billboard Music Awards in Las Vegas. That's the only things that we really had access to.
Remember,
know what I mean?
we had the new music seminar.
The new music, that's what I'm talking about. The new
Manhattan.
music seminar that was in LA. Yeah, we went
No,
to
it
that.
was in Manhattan, Marriott.
We had a new music seminar in Los Angeles.
Wow, we had one in
Yeah.
New York at Marriott. That's where
Yeah,
Ice Cube got beaten up by Eazy-E.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
we did it. Yeah, we had one in LA because from the Bay Area, I used to drive down to LA. It's like 5.5 hours. So that's a road trip. You know what I mean? And if we could find cheap enough flights, we would go to Vegas. If not, if it was too many of us, we just get in the car and ride 8 hours and go to Vegas. But you know, in California, there's Northern California and Southern California. There's really no in between. And then
And the record
Vegas.
labels thought we was right next to each other.
Right,
Like,
and they did.
they
Yeah,
really
thought-
did. They was
Yeah, they
like,
told
we
me
got
it's right
somebody
there.
close by you. And I was like, where did they go? LA. I said, I'm in Sacramento.
Yeah. Yeah, I got turned down for the BET Awards 1 year, and she said that, we can't have too many people from our area. Like they had this show from like it was KTLA or something like that. Like their news station was gonna cover the BET Awards. And I was like, she was like, well, we already got somebody from LA. And I was like, I'm not from LA. I'm from the Bay Area. So who do you have from the Bay Area? And she was silent, so I just hung up on her.
That was probably me going to the BET Awards down in LA.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, they used to get it mixed up all the time. Like they thought LA and Sacramento was like 5 minutes apart. You know, it was just
Right.
crazy.
You know what I mean? They had no idea about California.
The record labels really didn't, But but we was treated so great. I remember doing giveaways on my show all the time and stuff.
All the time.
We used to get flooded, like especially like Death Row. I remember when Hit 'Em Up first came out, they sent me a big old box of all them tapes, the VHS tapes that Hit 'Em Up.
Yeah,
To
that's
like
it.
to give out and stuff. Mike Cole at party used to give, stuff from
Mike Cole, man, that brother used to. Brother Mike Cole would send us. I remember.
I believe Mike Cole is
Yeah,
still
sure.
at Universal. I believe he's still at Universal.
Is he at
Then he-
Universal still?
Yeah, he's a senior VP. He's a senior VP at
Oh, he's a
Universal.
senior VP at Universal?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mike
he was at Capitol.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Morris?
He had gone to Capitol,
Oh,
also in between, particularly in between. But they all began to merge a little bit right now.
yeah. James Morris, what'd you say? You said something.
I was just saying, Mike Cole, like Shelly Fontana, Mike Cole, and then your girl at Big Buzz. They used to take care of us in the
Marianne.
Midwest.
Yeah, we
Marianne,
got lots of
all
stuff.
that West Coast stuff, man. I had Friday t-shirts, and then I was a DJ. So beside getting all the 3/4 videos, I was getting vinyl. Like you wouldn't believe of like all of the records, and I would have stuff before DJs had it. And some of us, and I'm sure you guys went through this as well, where obviously, let's just say in Chicago, there was like a hierarchy chain that it used to be like, WGCI would get stuff first and then it would trickle down. They get the first interviews. But like, as we were in these video shows and we were showing their videos, we would get interviews first and people would start hating on us because we was getting the interview before the TV station and the radio station. And especially with like, cats that you interview, once we interviewed somebody at Impact or Jack the Rapper or whatever, and we had a relationship and we didn't ate dinner, and all of us done had fun with Ice Cube. He come to Chicago, he'd be like, "Yo, look out for my guy's feet, give him tickets," and people hate that stuff,
You know what happened to me was I had an interview with Mike Jones on his Mike. God, I almost fell for it. And my host, we was on his tour bus, right? And I had set up. Mike Jones came on he got on the bus. He went to the back to to get ready, right? Well, the PD of the radio station came on the bus and she saw who my host was and she pulled the interview, right? And I was like, how she pulled the interview? I got this interview from the record label, right? And who was it? I think it was it Dwayne? I forgot who it was. And who was over doing Mike Jones? But anyhow, they was like, Lita, unfortunately, you got it, the interview's cut. I said, well, what if, he just does the interview? Because I've done that before. I just hand the people the mic and I'll just go on, right? And then, they pulled it, blah, blah. Me and the PD, she's no longer there, but me and her are friends now. She just didn't like my host, right? And so I was driving and the record label called me. They go, Alita, guess Mike Jones came up, from the back. And he was like, where's Alita at? And they told him what happened. Mike Jones said, you get Alita back here now. So I met Mike Jones downtown and I just had to give him the mic and Mike Jones did an interview.
But
Alita,
every time you bring up somebody,
huh?
Every time you bring up somebody, I got a story about him. Mike Jones this cat, when I first started doing, when I had my own network, right? When I was on like 14 hours a day or something like that. Sean Kennedy,
Oh,
who used to give me a lot of giveaways. Like Sean Kennedy was
yes,
my boy with
yes.
giveaways and interviews, and also Ingrid Best,
Mm,
who started working for Diageo, and now she has iBest Wines, doing her thing.
mm.
But between those two, I used to get a lot of giveaways. But Sean Kennedy set up Mike Jones to come down to the studio. We had a studio on 82nd and MacArthur in the hood, like in the heart of the hood, right? So it was like, okay, we're gonna interview Mike Jones. And this cat pulled up in his tour bus in the middle of the hood on 82nd and Mac with Mike Jones on the side of it in diamonds, right?
Wow.
So he came in, and I think he was there probably about a couple of hours, and the crowd just started gathering outside.
Oh
And we
my.
had a fence so people couldn't get in. And by the time we came out, we was walking to the bus, and it was crowded. It was crowded. But Mike Jones, he stood there and shook a lot of people's hands, which was cool. He was taking pictures, shaking hands, and the whole nine. And I gave him props for that. But his bodyguards was on the side, like, if anybody move, it's gonna be something. But yeah, man, that was cool. That
Yeah,
was super cool.
he's
But
really
yeah,
a
Mike
cool,
Jones.
he's a cool cat, you know.
Yep.
Actually, I never, there's only one person I'm not gonna say because we're live and stuff, but you know, I never had anybody rude at all, except for one person from the Bay, and stuff. But I made a lot of good friends. Like, you know, it's my greatest pleasure was interviewing the locals and
Yep.
seeing them grow. Mr. Fab, Juice, you know, um, rest in peace, Biaggi. You know what I mean? It's just the locals who, and even the Sacramento ones, Meek, young Meek, we call Miko, but he was young Meek back in the days. T Nutty, all the local ones that, I interviewed that I'm still, good friends with and stuff.
Cool.
Lit, it's funny because JD, shout out to JD. He told me, he's like, Alita, you got a lot of footage. And I was like, yeah. He goes, you got Mozzie. And I go, what do you mean I got Mozzie? I never interviewed Mozzie. He was like, he was little Tim when you was interviewing us back in the days.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I was like, for real?
That's what happened with TQ. TQ was just like,
I interviewed TQ. Yeah.
yeah, he was like an afterthought. I was interviewing this cat, and all of a sudden I was like, damn. And that's what I used to love about us getting these cats no one heard of, these video labels giving us these cats, or like you said, cats that was just around our hood, like the Brat. The Brat was from the Shire. We interviewing the Brat like, hey,
That's that.
you feel me? To tat, tat, tat.
Mhm.
And I was gonna say, who hung out in Chicago a lot, and I still to this day don't know. But then he was on his podcast talking about it. We used to interview Cameron all the time. Cameron used to be in Chicago every other weekend at every soul food restaurant, rapping. And he used to come to Chicago. He was like, I'm a battle. He used to try to battle Common and all these cats, and he used to hold his ground. Killer was a mug, man. But it's good to see him and Mace. That's another Mace. I used to have access to Mace, interviewing Mace. When he was, as we know, when Puppy Them was hot, the reason that they really got hot as well is because they opened the door and let us interview them cats. I interviewed Little Kim so many times. My ex-girlfriend was jealous. She thought Little Kim was like, I was like, come on, man, this Little Kim, man, she ain't think about me, But having the access when she was hot,
Lil' Kim.
Let me ask y'all a question. Who was the rarest interview y'all ever got? Or somebody that you didn't know that you were gonna get, and something happened. He was like, oh, I get to interview this person. The rarest interviews.
I would say Dionne Warwick.
For real?
Yeah, I got to interview Dionne Warwick like 3 times.
That's a good one.
You
I
know?
see that one coming.
And what's so funny, I got to interview Dionne Warwick with Roy Ayers.
Yeah.
So I interviewed her and Roy Ayers at the same time.
Oh, Yeah.
Now me, I used to go post up at the hotels, right? Like when there was an event, I would go to the hotel. I wouldn't go to the venue. I'd be at the hotel. I would go post up, and people walking through. I got Bishop Don Juan.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I got Bishop.
You know, he's from the
Bishop
side,
up
so.
at the hotel. Yeah, I got Bishop. Yeah, Bishop Don. And I interviewed Snoop's uncle that day too. So that's like too rare. Rest in peace, Uncle Junebug. But yeah, and that interview, boy, that man was something else. He was like, he said, and you behind the camera, I'm gonna have you in my doghouse.
Wow.
I was like, okay, man. Yeah, he was a big flirt and stuff. But Bishop Don Juan, just for him walking through the hotel and stuff, But yeah, that was the best thing to do was go post up at the hotels because that's where you find out where they were staying at. You sit up in that lobby and get those interviews and stuff. Did you guys do
I
that?
think, I think the rarest one I had, well, I won't say, one I really did enjoy, Natalie Cole. When I
Oh,
got Natalie Cole,
Wow.
you got
and like
Natalie
it was
Cole.
like, yeah, and it was like the strange thing about that is that, her first husband, Marvin Yancey, was my brother-in-law by my first wife. They got me, and when he had passed away, rest in peace, and don't rest in peace, Natalie also, and she was in LA, and I got the call, Natalie Cole, boom. I said, okay, let me go on. And as soon as I walked up, she gave me a hug. I said, oh, and everything. And we did that was to me full circle because first of all, I just love her dad. Of course, and that thing can't go. But Natalie Cole to me, that was probably that's my classic interview right there because it was personal yet professional, and she is still now she's Natalie Cole, I've got some good ones, but that one right there I cherish the most, I would say.
James, what about you?
I would probably say, and I was looking for that picture just now, Al Pacino. I got Al Pacino at the Four Seasons Hotel.
Whoa.
And I told him, I said, man, a lot of people can say they get a pass from the Black community, but I don't think no Black man knows any more lines in any movie than Scarface, brother. And
say hello to my little friend.
And we had to talk about, that, and then we talked about, I can't remember the other movie where he played, where Charlize Theron was in there and Keanu Reeves, and he played like the devil.
I know what you're talking about.
And
I know
The Devil's Advocate or something?
Devil's
Devil's
Advocate. Yeah. And it was just a long conversation, and he pulled me because I was sitting like in the hotel area where the regular people eat, and he was out on the glass porch area, and he was the only one out there. And I talked to him. He's like, "Come on, come sit down and come on." And I was like, "This is crazy, yo!" Like,
wow.
That's crazy. That's a good one. I think mine's is I had Berry Gordy was one.
Wow.
That's big.
Then Denzel was one.
That's big.
And I got both. I'm looking at this picture now. And then another picture I gotta show y'all. Hold on, let me get this picture for a second. I gotta show y'all this one.
that's what I was doing right now, trying to find
This picture right here, right?
Eve?
That's Eve and Patti LaBelle.
Patti LaBelle.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was at the Billboard Music Awards, right? We were backstage, and Mariah Carey had just passed. Alita, I carry a hot sauce holder. I have a hot sauce holder on my hip, right? And I collect hot sauce. So, Patti LaBelle, she has her own hot sauce. So when I seen her, I was like, Patti, I got my hot sauce. And she was like, I like that, boyfriend. And at the same time, Eve came because Eve is from Philly. So they have people in common. And somebody said, hey, take a picture. So I just turned around and took the picture. And then about 2 weeks later, Chauncey Bailey, the reporter that got killed out here.
Yeah, I was trying to
yeah.
He was asking me about the music industry. He gave me an interview. He was working for the Oakland Tribune. He told me to send him a picture. I sent him this picture, and he put it in the Oakland Tribune. And I still got that article. So I was like, yeah, that was a super rare moment.
Now who is, oh,
Yeah.
Al Pacino?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Well, you guys, we had some good, but we done went an hour and a half. Chris,
I also got God, Morgan Freeman.
Morgan
Oh,
Freeman.
wow.
Wow. Chris, anything else you want to add before we,
No. Well, I don't know. I'm working now with some unsigned artists and stuff like that, so I might be reaching out to everybody.
so you still got a show going too, or?
Yeah, no, I still got a show on Brick Horse Media. I think I got one of the longest running shows in Brick Horse Media.
Are you still being serviced by record labels?
Well, if I call them, they send it to me. Yeah.
I am.
You are?
Yeah, I still got. I got my show up, and there's a company. You remember? God, what is Lisa's last name?
No, Lou is still doing it, right? Lou is still sending.
Lou's still doing it, but I'm still getting service from Dwayne McClary, Tina Dunn,
Oh, wow.
Lisa. I can't think of.
No, Lisa Rowe doing real estate, I think.
No, hold on. I'm about to tell you right now, because if y'all ain't doing it, y'all should get back on. They sending videos, doing interviews. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Vernon, so you traveling. So what are you up to these days?
Traveling, on a transportation company, out of my home, my accounting firm, and that's what I do. I, considering, like I said, I've been thinking about this industry for so long that I say I'm going to my wife said, well, look at this, you got all this stuff. Why don't you just do a podcast? I said, oh, what am I naming? She said, oh, where are they now? So that's what I'm contemplating doing in my spare time, and we'll see what happens. But I follow the industry closely. Oh, and that's all to mention. Oh, one other, we talk about interviews. I didn't throw in the fact at the Playboy Mansion that I did interview the great Hugh Hefner before he passed away.
Oh,
before, and he did have a bathrobe on. Trust
Man.
yes, he did. Yeah, but but that's what I'm doing right now. And when I saw you do your little post about what's going on, I said, oh, that kind of gave me a nudge again, because I won't say I have a lot of spare time in my hand, but with the way that AI is these days, I can do things quicker, with less effort than we used to, because like I said, we used to carry all these cameras, mics, soundboards, everything else, and set up and got, you name it. But now everything is like on autopilot. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and roll back and just cruise a little bit on that.
Lisa Frank. Y'all remember her?
Yeah, I remember Lisa. Yeah.
So she owns something called Bedford Music Marketing. It's her, Dwayne McClary, Tina Dunn, Michelle Fuentes. You remember Michelle?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So they're sending out. They send daily music videos.
Oh wow. Okay. I remember I had so many videos I had to put them out of my garage. I was in a duplex. I had to put them in the garage. I had stacks and stacks and stacks of VHS.
Exactly.
And stuff, and then it went from VHS to, thank God it went to the smaller cameras and, all that stuff, but technology.
I made my oldest daughter for the summers take all the videos and upload them into the cloud and label them.
Oh,
I wish she was here. I wish she was here in Sacramento.
It took like,
you ain't lying.
3 years.
It took her 3 years?
Yeah, because she might do I think she was doing like maybe 50 a day during the summer, 100 a day. And it was, but I got Google Drive, and I got like 20 terabytes in the cloud, and I got all of that stuff. And I also made her upload the interviews as well that we did, over these years, so that I could just type in Usher and pull up when I interviewed him, or Goody Mob, and then, yeah.
I need to do that.
Speaking of one of my favorite guests has popped on, Young Meek. Remember I mentioned him a few minutes ago? Yeah, now he's watching right now. In fact, I'm going to have him on in a couple of weeks. Y'all used to get the videos, Young Meek, back in the days.
Yeah.
I forgot
Wow.
what label he was on and stuff, but yeah. But
Alita, you reminded me that if it wasn't for us, because like we said, MTV and even BET wouldn't be breaking people. BET wouldn't play, anybody from the South until the record was #1 on the radio. They wouldn't play nobody they wouldn't play TQ until TQ was on TRL,
Right.
Like they wouldn't even break, and we was breaking that stuff. We was breaking it every week, bro.
and Slide Records we broke.
And they
Facts.
did not, BET did not hesitate to make sure that we showed up at the events too, though. They got us our passes and everything, backstage, front stage, cross the stage, and you name it, before
True.
party, after party. And I told like, hey, they knew what was going on, but like, hey, like you say, we blew them up too, but MTV, all that stuff.
We blew them up, bro.
This is good, Alita, because the thing is, like, nobody realized that, hey, that, we are the godfathers and the godmothers of this video industry persona,
Right.
And I'm glad to see you making that known, so we can all get our props.
And we did it
just
right.
go right to the museum.
And we
And
did
you know
it right.
what's crazy? I'm being
Yeah.
interviewed now. People are calling me, like one of the artists I used to interview back in days, a group Unknown. Now, Nico, he did my first interview. He came to my house, got like a 90-minute interview and stuff. And then Katie from 360 Radio said, Lita, I want you to come up on a radio station. So now the tables are kind of turned, I'm being asked to, to do interviews, to give my history. And it's just so nice that, when people see me, one time I was at, we had this DJ who was murdered out here, right? DJ Gio. And I was at his vigil. And this guy found out who I was, and he was like, I just want to shake your hand. You're a legend. I was like, well, a legend, but, it's just nice that people still give us our props. They still invite us to places, I mean, at least I know for me out here in Sacramento, my Sacramento folks,
That
they
count.
still, try to include me, some of them and stuff, and everything. And now, my son, he, out there in the Bay, he got, owns 2 barbershops. My daughter's out there in Brooklyn and everything, but my son got a little bit of, the filming bug and stuff, and everything, but.
Since I moved to LA, it started picking back up with, I got my own digital website, apps, and all of that stuff. And, I'm still taping, live shows. We're doing live stream shows with artists. So I've been doing this, nonstop, never stopped at all. This is all I do.
Yeah.
My
I
thing
really
is-
enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Like, young Meek, Miko, getting to know them, being there at the beginning of their career and seeing, how far that they, come, and we still close after all these years, and everything. And Rock, I know that's like, I'm pretty sure in the Bay, there's some Bay artists, right? Who?
Out here, I mean, there's a lot of Bay artists, you know what I mean?
That you interviewed back in the days that.
Yeah, like, well, Forte, we grew up in the same neighborhood, so that's the homie. Mac Moore, like, all these cats, like, you know what I mean? San Quinn, Messy, all these cats, that's Filmo. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah, see, I don't start
you
with
go.
that. And I interviewed the Loonies when they were like 2 for the Money or something like that. Fab, I was interviewing Fab when he was 17 years old. I was the first cat to play his video. So Fab, he's still like, what's up, Unc? And I'm like, hold on, you Unc status too. You know what I mean? But I still see Fab a lot. Dwayne, man, I got so many interviews on Dwayne, it's ridiculous. And a lot of Bay Area artists out here. Money B, when you were talking about Money B. Anytime we needed an interview, Money B used to come to my show when I was doing public access. You know what I mean? Back in like 89, 90. And like, he's still the homie. You dig what I'm saying? So, 40 is my homie. Sugar T that's my sister. You know what I mean?
I'm
Sugar
gonna have
T,
her
that,
on soon too.
yeah, that
She was
is my
traveling. She was
homie.
traveling. Yeah.
Yeah, I still talk to Sugar T. That's my girl. You know what I mean? I was at her first video, Billy Badass, back in the
Wow.
day. You know what I mean? So through what I was doing with VJ TV and what I was doing with Soul Beat, you know what I mean? I got a lot of stuff under my feet. But nowadays I'm a public address announcer. I do 15 different sports. I do stuff for the OAL. I do stuff for Laney College, Merritt College, Stanford University, and also the Women's Premier Basketball Association, which
Mm.
is a professional league out here that's certified by FIBA. So, I do stuff for them, and I'm actually about to start my own sports network. And I'm
Hey,
concentrating on middle school, high school, and community college sports. We do interviews with like pro athletes, but we do interviews with pro athletes to motivate the student athletes. You know what I mean? And that's coming in August.
That's
So,
good.
just having the back, I never thought I would be in sports, but it's like, I've been doing sports for a while, being a public address announcer. And it's just, one of the greatest things I've ever done. Being a public address announcer. I also do award shows and events and stuff like that, but doing sports is just my thing. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
just being on this right here, I needed to be in this because
hey,
you cats right here are like, you know what I mean? I call it unsung because a lot of people don't know the stuff that we did back in the day with music videos. We came out the pocket when we were going on these trips. These trips
hey,
wasn't funded. We was coming out the pocket. You know what I mean? And if we took people, we'd have to like, if I'm taking you, I'm gonna have to buy them food. I'm at,
you know.
I was the master of getting one hotel room and it'd be like 5 or 6 of us in there. You know what I mean? I was the master of that. You know what I mean? Trying to put money together and the whole nine, man. Going on trips where you coming home, you got change in your pocket, like, I need to get back to the Bay. You know what I mean? So it was like, they don't know the sacrifices that we've did, but the rewards were all of the videos and all of the interviews that we got because we got archives.
Yes.
And we got archives that people don't know about. You know what I
Nah,
mean? I bet you if you went in your archives right now, you go, man, I forgot that I interviewed this cat.
Mhm.
When y'all was talking about the people that passed away, you could think of all of the artists or entertainers that you have that are now gone, but you have them. I got an interview with Johnny Cochran. That was on a fluke.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And you thinking I got Rick James and Tina Marie. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So you think of all of the man. If you see I got boxes. So somebody called me about my archives today. Was like, "Hey man, you still got my video show?" And I was like, "Bruh, it's in a box."
I get that calls too.
You know what I mean? It's in a box somewhere. But we got archives, and if we were all to get together and just show people what we got, they'd be like, "Oh my goodness!" You know
got
what I
the Rick
mean?
James. I got that Rick James right after he got out when he came back to make that replay, that return from Forever. Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
a and
Did
then
anyone ever get
ironically,
Yep.
like when you're talking about these people that we have that have passed away, then I said, whoa, dog, yeah, I got to Aretha Franklin. I got Freddie Jackson.
Thank you.
I got Luther. And you start thinking now about who these. It's infinite, and like I'm just happy that you guys are really. Oh, and one shameless plug before you shut me off. Since you're doing all this sports interviewing, my grandnephew, and none of us are probably a Timberwolves fan, but Shannon Jr., that's my nephew. On the
Really?
Timberwolves. Yeah, Shannon Jr. Okay, so you get a chance to interview him. I interview my nephew, man, because I hope that I'm a Bulls fan, but I would love in his rookie year to get that ring.
If he come out to the Bay, you let me know, bruh. I'm in my
that's
studio now. You know what I mean? If you come out to
Vernon,
the Bay, you let me know.
Vernon,
I'm on it. Okay.
Vernon, me and my cameraman.
Inbox me. Well, I'm more and more. That's my email address. That's how leadership found me. But I got
Vernon,
more and more the same address. But most I just prefer the more and more. That's me at AOL.
my cameraman and I We ain't seen you 20, 30 years. My cameraman to this day used to start the interviews, more and more entertainment.
Hey, okay, and more, man. And you know what? My wife picked that name. She said, "Oh," I said, "What?" She said, more and more." I said, "Oh, so you're gonna slide yourself in there too, huh?" But yeah, but hey, but like I tell
So
everybody,
smooth.
that
Hey,
I
You
tell everybody, hey, I am more and more. Okay, and I
when you
will
talking
always
about
be more.
wives, when you talking about wives, I gotta give a shout out to my wife. She been there from the gate. You know what I mean? Like she's been there through it all. She's been there, spending it. She's like, "You sure you want to go to Vegas? You broke." But and she was
Hardship,
like, "But if
hardship.
you need to go, I got you." You know
Oh,
what I mean?
God. Yeah.
So
remember going
she
out there, man, like you
she
said, with
supported me. She
nothing.
supported me.
We used to go out there with
That
nothing.
woman, boy, we've been married 34 years.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
Oh,
It'll be
welcome to
35
the
this
party.
year. So
But she got to meet a lot of
yes,
famous
sir.
people
You know what
too.
I mean?
She
You
got to
got
meet a lot of famous
Oh
people.
yeah. Oh yeah. She
Yeah.
and ironically, Money B is her homie. Back in the
you
day,
Money will
boy,
you
love
got
you.
us.
she used to love some Money B. That's her homie.
You got us about 1 year. We're at 33. Me and my wife.
Really?
33 years. Yeah.
Wow.
But anyhow, but you can feel my breath up and down your neck, okay?
Now speaking of like all this, Rock, we got to say this. Happy birthday to Barney B,
Barney B, my
Okay.
cousin.
his cousin. Barney B, DJ
Hello.
Barney B,
Happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
Happy
DJ Barney
birthday,
B.
Barney
That's
B.
my cousin.
That's his cousin. Yes, most definitely. You guys, I enjoyed it. Chris, you good?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm doing fine.
Okay,
Everything's lovely. I'm so
we
glad
gotta
to
let
see
you
you.
go back to
Oh,
bed. You in New York and stuff.
I'm really glad to see everybody, you know?
Yeah, next
Yep.
time we gotta do this, we're gonna have Ed, like I said, keep him in prayer. I enjoyed this, enjoyed the stories. We kind of let people know, how it all started, back in the 90s.
right. I
And
I
Waterford.
remember interviewing Usher when it was just me,
Okay.
him, and his mama. Me, him, and his mama
When he was
sitting down. Nobody else was talking to this cat. I'm in Milwaukee. No, we was in Chicago at the Bud Billiken parade. Nobody knew who this brother was. And I sat down and did like 2, 3, 4 hours with this. It's still on YouTube. And then I took him to my crib. So Usher's in my apartment complex party room. I'm sitting interviewing Usher. I'm like, the next week, you make me want to came on. It was like, boom.
There you go.
Hello.
That
Crazy.
happened with Akon. After I interviewed Akon, did the song with him and Styles P came out and just blew up and stuff. I was like, oh, and stuff. Yeah,
That's what I love about what we did. We would be interviewing, same thing with Alicia Keys. I was interviewing her in Chicago. Next week, wasn't no bigger artist than that.
yeah.
And when they remember you, like when you see them at another event and they remember you, is the
Oh,
thing. They was like, man, I remember you. You know what I mean? CeeLo Green remembers me because my hot sauce holder.
Oh,
He
Sheila.
seen me at an event, and I was like, "Yeah, bro, I remember I interviewed y'all." And then I showed him my hot sauce holder. He's like, "Yeah, we was in the Bay." And I was like, "Yeah, bro."
let me
That
tell
is
you,
so funny.
let me
That
tell
is so
you,
funny.
there's a guy out here, promoter, pretty much promoter, Eric Stevens, Bombay. He had a Avant here, right? And I went to the back, to Avant. And I said, yeah, I interviewed you back in a while back. Avant said, oh yeah, you was the one you was on my tour bus wondering how you was going to get back to your car. I said, oh my God, you remember that?
That's
They
crazy.
know. They know.
They know. They
Yeah,
know.
about remembering, because I remember it was interviewing, the bus started moving. I was like, wait a minute, my car. And years later, Avant remembered me saying that and stuff. It was crazy and stuff.
You know what's so funny too? Like the artists like Jay-Z remembers us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I went to Jay-Z's tribute in Brooklyn Museum,
Mm-hmm.
and guess what they were showing on the walls? The video shows that interviewed Jay-Z that was public access. They were
Yeah.
Yep.
all public access show interviewing Jay-Z's.
Yeah, it's
And that
crazy.
was
Yep.
part of Jay-Z's tribute. See, so
Wow.
he used all the public access shows that he was on, and he showed clips of every single show.
And that dude was so nice to us when we went in Marcy Projects, man. And you knew this dude was somebody. You know what I'm saying? The way that he moved, you knew, like, wait a minute, this dude about to change the whole thing, yo.
They had
Did
love though.
anybody interview Beyonce?
I interviewed her father.
Yeah, Destiny's Child. When they were with Destiny's Child.
When they were
I almost
Destiny's
got that
Child,
interview,
yeah.
but they didn't come to Sac. But I was going to interview Destiny's Child, but they didn't come to Sacramento.
And I did when Matthew Knowles had his labels offshoot from Sony.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did parties for John B. De La Soul and Life Jennings.
There you go.
I interviewed
Life
Jennings,
cool.
and
He's cool.
he had just got out of jail and did my party. It was crazy.
I interviewed him when he did the Jesus album. Was the Jesus album or something? Remember he had that album?
Life, it was his jail number. It was like
No. Years later, he did like a song. The album is like kind of like Jesus. I can't remember the name. Yeah, I interviewed him at the Hard Rock Casino out here. He was nice. He was really nice.
That brother can sing and play that guitar like nobody business, yo.
Yep.
In a different world, he would have been it, you know.
Wow. Well, you guys, it's almost midnight in New York, so we gotta let Chris go. But I enjoyed you guys. Facebook, y'all heard some good stories about. Y'all heard some stories.
Yeah, this is great.
They got better stories than I did.
No, we all. The story is us. Period.
Yeah.
You know, so all of it is good.
There you
And
go.
we still here. We still here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
just the
that-
love that we had for the music. You know what I mean? And promoting artists. That was our thing. Promoting artists in our local area. You know what I mean? And then combining them with bigger artists. So when we did our show, we would interview the local artists, and then you interview the national artists, and you put them together. That's what we did. You
Because
know what
our
I mean?
show was where you can see the local artist videos along with the major artist videos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
R. Kelly came and did a part. R. Kelly came and sang at my party, just at this all tore up, nightclub in Waukegan, Illinois. You know, that's just the type of stuff that we did because they knew that we had to show. They would see us on cable access every week, no matter what. When we started breaking music,
And we could play
Kelly,
anything.
Well, I
You
came
mentioned
on
R. Kelly.
11 o'clock at night. I got away with a lot of stuff. I got away with Snoop's dad, Papa Snoop, him and Superfly. I never forget. They, I'm filming, I'm doing an interview. All of a sudden, Papa Snoop just started rolling up weed. I just kept filming. I came on
you
after
mentioned R.
11, so
Kelly.
I didn't get in trouble.
You mentioned R. Kelly. R. Kelly was my first platinum plaque. You know,
Wow.
Yeah.
that was my first.
Yeah.
And I said, R.
The record
Kelly.
companies loved us. The
I
record
gotta
companies
get-
loved us.
I got to get all of mine. Mine got all waterlogged, but I found the company that printed them. So I'm going to send all of I kept, like, you remember we got the letter saying you getting a plaque? I got all of those that I'm going to send them to get the plaques.
Oh,
Oh.
really? Oh, good.
There you go. But okay, yeah.
What time? Okay, so my show came on 11 and people were still up on a Sunday. My show came on Sundays at 11 o'clock at night. And people would stay up to watch it. If I didn't come on, I would get, back then we had pagers and stuff. Remember, we had the pagers. And I would get like pager phone calls and stuff. See, is the show coming on? If I skipped a week or even when I took that hiatus and stuff.
Mhm.
James Morris, when did your show come on?
My show came on Saturday nights at midnight, right after Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
And it was a blessing, especially because I went from cable access immediately to WGN Superstation, and then I went on NBC. So I was on NBC, as the show grew before I took it to the web myself, because I started seeing, might as well do it myself. NBC was making all that money on them ads, I was like, nah, son, let me get some of that.
Chris, what time your show come on?
My show used to come on at 8:30. Now it comes on at 11
On what days?
every Friday.
On
But
Friday.
I come on like 4 times a week now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 4 times a week.
I love hearing y'all still going. Vernon, when is your show? What day and time did your show come on? Come on?
I took them into the weekend, 9 o'clock every Friday night,
Every
for
Friday.
full hour. And then
Wow.
I came in with a gospel show. I did a gospel show on Saturday nights. They gave me another hour. So I did 2 shows. I did a gospel show because I got a lot of start getting gospel videos. I said, okay. So like, hey, I'm gonna give my thanks to God
Yeah.
too. So I had 2 shows, but my hip hop show, Friday 9 o'clock gospel, 9 o'clock on Saturday nights, every week.
Wow, you did a lot of editing, didn't you? What about you,
Oh, baby.
Marcella?
That's how you set those
Um,
studios in your house.
I had different time slots, but then when I started my network, we were on 7 days a week from 8 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m.
7 days, different shows?
Wow.
Yeah, we repeated a lot of stuff, but I used to play concerts, the whole nine.
Well, y'all really
So,
love that
and I
editing,
used to team up with a
man.
lot of other producers. Yeah, and I used to team up like when we were before I had the network, we used to team up with a lot of producers, and everybody had like a different night of the week. So mine's just like Saturday from like 6 to 8, and then another
Oh, okay,
producer he had
okay.
Friday from 6 to 8. So you know what I mean? So we just put it all under VJ TV. So we
Okay.
actually had multiple days a week on until we got the network. Cause yeah, that's what we wanted to have more airtime to show these record companies that y'all can send us some money. You know what I mean? Because we're playing more than 30 minutes. When I first started, I think we was on 30 minutes on Friday or something like that. And then we changed that for like 30 minutes on Friday and then an hour on Saturday or something like that. Back that was 89.90.
I
So
never
yeah, it
charge,
was
and I never charge an artist to come on my show either. I know
neither
some
did I.
people do,
Oh no.
not knocking people
No.
who do, but I mean, or did back in the days. But yeah, I never the locals because I looked at it this way: if I'm not charging the major artists, why am I going to charge the local artists?
That's right.
That was just my thought. You know what I mean? So I always supported local artists. I never ever they never paid a fee to come on and stuff. So.
Because
Oh yeah.
one of my local artists turned out to be Carl Thomas.
Oh,
You
for
know,
real?
Wow.
yeah, that's the type of like Chicago. It was full all Twister, Carl Thomas, the Brad, Common, Kanye. I got interviews with Do or Die, just all of that, man. What's her name? Selena Johnson. All of that in Chicago was coming out, and we was getting those videos and pumping them. And then George, like I said, George's music room was a godsend because he co-signed for me when we would be somewhere else out of town, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, he called us all his nephew." He would get me, Common, Kanye, Carl Thomas. He called us his nephews, and Cootie. I don't remember Cootie, video camera guy that did the Yeezy documentary on Netflix. All these guys were from around the same, 30-minute area that we all grew up in the music industry.
And you know what? We not only got like stuff to give away, but I remember they gave us Janet Jackson. Oh, my ex-husband was so happy. We have front row to Janet
Oh,
to the Janet Jackson. I think we had to go to Oakland, but they used to give us concert tickets, all time, we were, the labels took care of us and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
the backstage passes.
yeah.
We had a show called
yep.
Backstage Pass, and that's all we did. My homie Renee and my partner Marcel, we had a show called Backstage Pass, and that's what we did. We was backstage everywhere.
Yeah, those are good days. Well, I enjoyed you guys. You guys have a good night. We got to do this again and stuff.
Definitely.
And Rock, if you come to SAC again and don't call me, you went before.
I will be in SAC on the
before you come.
25th because my second oldest is getting married. So
I
I'll
ain't
be in there from
Congratulations.
at Friday to Monday. So yeah,
Okay.
I will be in SAC.
Okay, well, make sure you get me, you and Barney got to get together.
That's a definite.
All right. Thanks, you guys. I look, I salute you guys. I appreciate you guys. All right. All right, Mr. Morris.
It was great.
I'm gonna keep in contact with you, Mr. Cool Cat.
And I just say I'm just kicking back. I'm just more and more,
More and more entertainment, baby.
Me, that's me and that guy right there, Mr. James.
We may have to do this earlier so we can see Chris's face next time.
Real talk.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, in real
Thank
time.
you
And
so much.
I hope Nancy show up too.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to get like all of the shows.
I'm
Nasty.
gonna call and
I
talk
hope so,
about Nancy
too.
mother water, you know, he called himself.
Yeah, John Reed and Sean and all of those guys we used to hang out with.
Leroy
Yeah.
was supposed to be on here too from Caramel Video.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, caramel. Yeah.
He didn't come on. So that's all right. We had a good time. They missed out. They missed out.
What was your guy? What was your guy in North Carolina? Chris, right? Y'all remember Big Chris?
Chris, what's his last name? Chris.
He lost like 300 pounds.
Cool.
Chris, he was a big dude. He called me like about 3 years ago out of the blue and just like, yo, I got the video show still. And I was like, man, it's good to hear your voice, man.
You know, one more person. I know we're about to go, but we gotta give a shout out to Rap-A-Lot Records.
Oh, yeah.
Big country, big country.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, big
Oh, yeah.
country took care of us big time. You know, we're
Yeah.
Rap-A-Lot. You know, yeah. So shout out to them. That's
Well,
it.
the bottom line, they'll go, but like all of those, they didn't send us any money, but they sent us product. All those labels that was up, we built those labels.
Product and
Big
interviews.
time.
They sent us product
Yeah.
and interviews. They kept our show
Yes.
going.
Yes.
So
We should get one of those good lawyers and say, hey, we want our money, we want our royalties. You guys owe us about, hey, we'll settle for like 50 million, okay, and we'll walk away.
Let's
Because
do
you
it.
know, y'all remember one last thing. Y'all remember when Biggie died and they sent out, you know, if y'all got interviews and stuff with Biggie, send it to us. Remember for Arista? I sent, you know, Puppy. He was in Chicago, so the Coogee sweater that Biggie had at the he performed last in Chicago before he went to California, you know. And we sent that in, and like you said, I wish we could get some royalties from that stuff. All that stuff we used to give. Remember they called us and be like, hey, you got Genuine? Send us the videos. We didn't know, like, shit, send us some money, you know?
Yep, that's
Right.
true. Our
remember
archives
when-
are worth
you
a lot of
remember-
money right now.
yeah, you remember when Pac died and the video Smile came out?
Yep.
That was, I mean, literally, it was. Remember, Scarface did that video and Pac got killed, and then they released it, but they just had to, you know,
They put Bokeem Woodbine in there to be Tupac. Remember that? It was Bokeem Woodbine turned away,
that's who that is.
and he was Tupac. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that video came out. That video was hot.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Whoa.
all right. So last time, good night, y'all. I'm going to bed.
All right. You ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Appreciate everybody watching.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right.
Okay,
You
love
too.
you guys, big time. Love you guys, big time.
Bye-bye.